Welcome to the Political Ferret Show. New content will be uploaded every Wednesday and Sunday, and if you like this kind of content, consider becoming a Patreon and help with just $1 a month to make the change possible. There are people who make the world a better place, and one of the group that really makes the world a better place are those people who are able to describe other people in terms that we can understand. That means that they go into the complexity and formulate quite easy and understandable patterns. One of this was Carl Jung. I like Carl Jung. He was a psychologist in Switzerland, and if you want to hear more of him, there are about 1 billion, zillion, trillion videos of him on YouTube. So he was plagued by pretty much one question, because people came non-stop to him and say, "Oh, my life is fucked up and please help me, oh Mr. Doctor." And he thought that there might be one solution that he can say, "Well, my friend, let's do this and that, whatever this is, it's meant to be find out, and then you will be happy." And he thought that he could use something like that and give it to everybody, and there is one thing that makes everybody happy. And he found out that this is impossible. And there were two sisters, the sister and Briggs, who worked on that pretty much at the same time, a little bit later on, but they then found out that Carl Jung did already build a lot of the groundworks, and they described something that is now known as the Briggs-Myers tip indication. And today we're gonna talk about this, because it is really a nice and easy tool that describes the interaction between people, the attention that people give, the decisions and how the decisions are made inside of people's minds, and how they deal with complexity. This is pretty much, they break it down and say, okay, by defining just these 4 points, we define a personality trait. So what does this mean? Every one of these things is just broken up in only two separate poles. You can be, of course, in between them, and you can be, it is a spectrum. It is really a spectrum. In this case, spectrum really works. So in regards to interaction, there is pretty much the extroversion against the introversion, the extroverts against the introverts. In attention, we have sensoring against intuition. In decision making, we have thinking against feeling. And in complexity, we have judging against perceiving. What does this mean in detail? Well, in interaction, it means that extroverts like to party. Introverts, on the other hand, like to read a book as alone as possible. It does not mean that introverts do not like people, and it does not mean that extroverts are not able to read books. The thing is that introverts fill their power up by being alone, while extroverts fill their power up while they are in groups. On the other hand, an extrovert needs power to be alone. An introvert needs power to be in a group. What does this mean? For people like me, I have no problem with talking with 1 and 2 people. But above that, it becomes energy draining for me. Then I need some time alone, or in a very, very tiny group, which means in the best case with just one other person. This will fill up my energy. I'm completely exhausted after partying one weekend. I can't do that. Yeah, I'm exhausted then. I need some time alone. I'm more on the introverted side. So the next thing is the attention, how you give attention. When I show you this picture, take this picture and watch this picture. So now describe what you see. Pause the video and describe just in your mind for about 10 seconds or something like that what you see. Okay? Okay, welcome back. There are two types of people in the end. The sensoring guys say it's a transparent box, it's blue on the upper side, it has a handle, and yeah, it's a box. On the other side, you have the intuition guys. The intuition guys say it is a box and I can put food into that, or perhaps a goldfish. That's the thing. A sensoring guy will describe something, will say this is what it is. An intuition guy will always think about how can I use that? What is the purpose? What does it mean? Especially one interesting thing is how different people, sensoring and intuition guys, especially the extremes, deal with sex. For a sensoring guy, it's just the friction It's not above that. It doesn't mean anything. For a hardcore intuition guy, it's only the meaning. It is absolutely irrelevant if it is crappy sex. It means something for them. Which means when people discuss about, is it possible that sex does not have a meaning? Yes, absolutely, for the censoring guys. That's interesting. I'm more on the intuitional side. I always think about what can I do with stuff, what does it mean, and so on. So the next thing is decision. And here we have thinking against feeling. So what does this mean? When you have a problem like this, where somebody writes down 1 and 1 is 3. Thinking guys and feeling guys will react differently. For a thinking guy, everything that is logical and can be explained feels good. For a feeler, on the other hand, everything that feels good is logical and can be explained. This means, for the thinking guy, he sees 1 and 1 is 3. This is wrong. It does not feel good because it is wrong. It's logically wrong. For the feeling guy, he says, oh well, if it makes sense, so if I can say something like, I can take just 1 bread and 1 bread, and if 1 person eats 1 bread, but I have 3 people to feed, well then 2 breads will feed 3 people. And he will come to this by thinking about things like, okay, let's break it down. 1 and 1 is 3. Okay, this is not really right. But if I say 1.4, which is, because I can round it down, just 1.4, and 1.4 is 2.7, and 2.7 I can round up, and yay, 1 and 1 is 3. This is pretty much what we see with this mental gymnastics that a lot of SJWs have. Most SJWs are hard on the feeling side. They see something and say it must go, because if it works, this would be really, really good and would feel really, really good. So there must be a solution to get there. And that's the problem. This is one of the interesting things. A lot of people, especially when you have this fight against the skeptics and against the SJWs, the skeptics are hard on the thinking side. The SJWs are hard on the feeling side. We'll go deeper into that in another video, but for this moment, let's say this is quite important, especially in politics. Then there is the thing how we use complexity and how we deal with complexity. The judging type likes it in an orderly fashion. He wants a structure, he wants rules, and he wants this rule especially in a good number system where he can say, okay, based on rules 3567, I have to do these and these and that. And he will not really like to change that. On the other hand, a perceiving guy will try to perceive reality as it is and make up what he's going to do then. He will not follow a pattern all that much. He will try to get into thinking, okay, if I want to go that because something has changed, yesterday I did it this way, but today I will do it this way. A hardcore judging guy will stick to especially old rules and say, in my holy book they say you have to do this and that, and he will stick with that. Even though it does not work, he will stick with that. A perceiving guy will always think about, okay, what can I do, what can I change? I'm more on the perceiving side. So what you end up with is 16 different kinds of versions. And another guy, we will go into that in another video, pointed out that there are pretty much archetypes. I guess Jordan Peterson would say it's archetypes. It's not really archetypes, but it's more or less archetypes, where a combination of these traits define people. So, as you might mention, all the thinkers are more your engineers, your doctors, those who go on the university to understand the physics, biology, and so on. And the feelers are more on the hippy dippy social and languages and stuff things. They're not really interested. And then the introverts are more interested in books. The extroverts are more interested in, I want to discuss this with people and so on. And if you take people who are pretty much the complete opposite to each other, then problems are pre-programmed. This is absolutely clear. If you take a INTP, here called the architect, which is pretty much all the engineers are INTP or INTJ, and you let them talk with the providers, with ESFJs, you might have problems, because those are the people who are in the church club and are very interested in how people feel and how we can help them and blah 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 blah, without ever doing something that is really useful. They just watch around. How can we deal with things? I can't deal with that. I also can't deal with the field marshal, with the ENTJs. That's the thing. A lot of people, when you're just one thing from each other, when you are a thinker and the other is completely, might also be introverted, he might also be an intuitive guy, he might also be a perceiver, but he's a feeler. You jump from the architect to the healer, because feeler. I really can't deal with feeler, but that's the problem. That's the main problem, and this might be the big rift in our whole society right now. That it is just a rift between thinkers and feelers, or perhaps it's just me because I'm a hardcore thinker. But I think this is one of the major things. So if you want to find out what kind of type you are, I will post a link in the description. It is a test with just 25 questions that is roughly gives you a roughly good idea where you are. I guess we have a lot of thinkers here. I do not expect a lot of feelers, and if there are feelers here, thanks for not giving me so many downvotes. So yeah, this is the link. I will post it, of course, in the description down there. That's about all for today. Thanks for watching. Like, share and subscribe, and have a wonderful day.